Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Grace. We're a late 30s couple working to become full-time blue water cruisers. However, for this episode, we're taking a small break from that work to finally take our much-delayed honeymoon. For 12 days, we'll be exploring Venice, cruising the Venetian Lagoon, and enjoying a bit of springtime in Rome.
Join us on our short respite to becoming midlife castaways. Our bags are packed again, and we were on our way for an adventure years in the making. 2 years ago, we went on a narrowboating adventure in England and got engaged at a little castle in Wales.
A year later, we tied the knot. But as much as we wanted to take our honeymoon right then, managerial changes in our occupation made it too financially risky to take the time away for ourselves.
To that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
It's like the White House has started mass layoffs of government workers. Now, we don't have exact numbers right now on how many employees...
It has been a year since that turmoil, and we've finally gotten the chance to celebrate us for a bit. We started our adventure with 3 days of exploring the floating city, Venice, with all of its canals, history, and beauty. We walked as much as 30,000 steps a day, taking in the city's narrow streets and alleyways.
Occasionally stopping for a spritz.
We'd enjoy views down the twisting canals.
Refreshing often with cicchetti and spritz.
We'd take in the art that could be found everywhere.
Always carrying a spritz.
Needless to say, we were in our element. We also found that cruising along the canals in a water taxi was one of the best ways to rest our feet while continuing to enjoy seeing this historic and charming place.
Of course, no place in the city has as much architectural allure as the famous St. Mark's Square.
Here we took a tour of the Doge's palace. The Venetian Doges, or dukes, ruled the city from the late 7th century to the late 18th century, and the current palace was built in the 1100s with several renovations through the centuries. The art and architecture is a testament to the city's former wealth and power, and was almost too much to take in within a few short hours.
We also wanted to learn how to make amazing Italian food ourselves, which led us to take a short cooking class. Guided by professional private chefs, we learned how to properly make Italian pasta, specifically spinach and ricotta ravioli and tarantelli, along with tiramisu for dessert. It was absolutely delicious. And finally, no anniversary honeymoon would be complete without ending our final night in Venice with a gondola ride and a dinner at a private table by the canal.
But our trip wasn't over yet. With the honeymoon portion out of the way, we linked up with 3 of our friends for the next phase of our adventure. After a short taxi ride north, we arrived at the Houseboat Holidays Marina outside of the town of Cassir. We stepped aboard our houseboat, which would be our home for the next 7 days, as we would cruise the Venetian Canal and visit many of the other islands and towns that surrounded Venice.
Hey guys, so we're in Casale Sil Sule in Italy, and we just got on the boat. We've been motoring for about an hour now. We've stopped to get some provisions because we haven't had the chance for the grocery store. But while the crew is off the boat, I want to give you guys a tour of the Minuto 8. This is a roughly 10 to 12 passenger boat. I want to say 40 foot long, much bigger than a time where we did some narrowboating in England. But I want to give you guys a tour of what the layout of this boat is like. So what we'll do is first stepping down onto this really large transom on the rear. We come then up this stair to the first of 2 helms. We're able to control the helm from up here. Currently, due to the wind, we have our bimini down. But along with this helm, we also have this really nice table for dining topside whenever we want to take in the view. Now when you come down to the sliding door, that opens up passage, which brings us to our cabin helm. And this is really the main helm. From it, we can control both the engine for our drive, as well as our diesel generator, which helps with maintaining electricity with the refrigerator, air conditioning, and so forth. All of our switches, or switch gear, is inside of this hatch or cover here. When we go down this next little stair, it brings us directly into the saloon, which, as you can see, is a bit of a cluster, given that we just got aboard and we haven't had a chance to really stow all of our gear yet. We'll first go to the fore. That brings us immediately into the galley, which comprises of a sink, a 2-burner stovetop, microwave, and this half fridge, which is a lot better than a mini fridge that I've seen on some boats. As we go forward, immediately to the right is our first cabin. These beds can be pushed together in order to make a queen. Immediately forward of that is one of the 2 showers aboard. There is no toilet inside of this head. It is just a shower. All the way to the fore is a angled berth. It is roughly a queen size. As we back up and then go to our left, this is just a toilet head with sink. There is no shower in here. Now we'll go to the rooms at the very back. First one on the right is another crew cabin. This is another one where you can push the 2 beds together and make a queen. It does have some pretty decent storage. I apologize. This is another head located inside of here, toilet head. And it also has a shower hidden behind the door. This room is the master cabin. It has a queen, doesn't need to be pushed together. Quite a bit of storage. And it has its own separate head with a shower as well.
We motored south into the Sile River and into the lagoon, eventually tying up for the night on the colorful island of Burano, which we would stay for another whole day, as the wind and weather would be too poor to safely continue. But we didn't let a little bad weather ruin our time, as we made the most of this beautiful town by enjoying plenty of gelato and touring the island's historic lace museum.
With better weather on our 3rd day aboard, we motored south and enjoyed lunch at this little lagoon-side restaurant on Cenerismo that had the most beautiful view. After lunch, we moved and tied up on the island of Vignole, and then took a water taxi to the island of Murano. There, we toured the island's glassmaking museum, which displayed the varying styles of glass the island produced through the centuries. A short walk and some gelato later, we made our way to one of the few remaining glass-making factories to get a view of how glass is still being made on the island.
The next day was nothing but fun in the sun, as we continued cruising south past Venice, along the west side of the island of Lido. Our goal that day was to reach the town of Chioggia, but after learning that our intended marina was closed, we had to turn back for a different destination, tying up outside of Alberoni, we made the short walk across the island to do something most of us had never done, to dip our toes in a different sea. The Adriatic was cold, but we spent the hours enjoying the sand, sun, and looking for seashells. That evening we returned to the boat and spent our time dancing under the sunset.
From this point on, we would be heading back north the way we came, but with some minor detours. Since passage down the Grand Canal is restricted, we cruised the waterway between Venice and the island of Giudecca, giving us views of the city most never get to see.
Before long, we found ourselves motoring back to the River Sile. This part of the cruise let us take in again the low-lying farms that surrounded the lagoon. Making our way back through the lock and into the river, we couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment, knowing our cruising journey was about to end. We had become masters of the boat over the past several days, and we were in no hurry to leave it just yet. On our passage up the river, we stopped again at Casile di Sosole for some lunch and gelato, and then we enjoyed the final evening sunset in the Italian countryside. But this wasn't quite the end of our journey. You see, when you travel as far as Italy, seeing just one place just doesn't make any sense. So our little group took a short train ride to the Eternal City, Rome. Starting at the Spanish Steps, we would spend 3 days touring the city's many historical sites. From the Trevi Fountain to the Roman Forum, every twist and turn seemed to contain something old and something artistic. One of the most stunning parts of our time there was visiting the Pantheon. Standing beneath the massive concrete dome was incredible, especially knowing that the structure has stood for nearly 2,000 years. The Roman Forum, however, felt even more surreal. As we wandered along the ancient stone paths and past the ruins of temples and government buildings, it was impossible not to imagine the generations of Romans who once walked these same streets. Knowing that figures like Julius Caesar once stood in the very places we were, made the experience feel less like touring history and more like stepping directly into it. The highlight of our trip was the Flavian Amphitheater, otherwise known as the Colosseum. Here we got to tour the underground, where gladiators and wild beasts were prepared to fight. The exhibits explain the different types of gladiators who once fought here, from the heavily armored Mamillo, who carried large shields and short swords, to the lightly equipped Retiarius, who relied on tridents and nets to ensnare their opponents. The tour guide talked at length about the harsh lifestyle gladiators endured, training constantly and living under strict discipline, while risking their lives for the entertainment of thousands. Standing inside the arena, it was easy to imagine the roar of the crowd echoing through the massive stone structure. Hearing tens of thousands of people cheering, shouting, and chanting must have been exhilarating. Our 12 days in Italy was nothing short of magical, and has only increased our drive to get to traveling full time. With returning home, we still have a lot to do. We need to close the sale on our old house and begin working with a broker to begin shopping for our starter boat. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give us a like and make sure you subscribe to see future videos about our journey to becoming midlife castaways.